What if the entire aching drama of the chase, the sleepless nights, the decoded texts, the psychic vigil you keep for a sign, is based on a single, beautiful misunderstanding? That question that claws at your ribs in the quiet hours. Do they want me to chase them? What if it's not a question about their desire at all, but a siren song leading you away from your own shore? Imagine you're shouting into a canyon, obsessed with the echo. You analyze its delay, its tone, you plead with it to change its message. You've mistaken the returning sound for a separate voice calling back, when all it ever was is your own voice. Transformed by distance, the runner in this metaphor isn't the echo. They are the sheer, silent rock face. Your chase is the shout, and the answer you keep waiting for is just your own longing, bouncing back at you, shaped by the hollow space between. We get so tangled in the psychology of it, the fearful avoidant attachment, the triggers of engulfment, the spiritual jargon of mirrors and karma. It's all true on a certain level, but beneath that, there's a simpler, starker truth we dress up in mysticism to make it palatable. You're trying to solve a problem that isn't yours to solve. Their running is their equation. Your chasing is you scribbling frantic numbers in the margin of their notebook, wondering why the sum never comes out to us. You've been trying to pass a test only they are taking, and the sheer exhaustion of that, the glorious, humbling exhaustion, is the universe's way of prying your fingers from the pencil. It's asking you with patience that feels like cruelty to finally look down at the blank, beautiful page that is your own life. Think of your energy as a rare, finite resource, like water in a desert. You've been pouring it into a hole, convinced that if you pour enough, something will finally bloom in that particular spot. Meanwhile, your own garden, the unique landscape of your talents, your quiet joys, your friendships that don't require deciphering, is parched. The runner's withdrawal, then, is not a lock on a door. It's the dam breaking on that desperate irrigation project, allowing the waters to flow back, finally, to their natural channels. What feels like abandonment is actually a profound redirection. And the real work, the only work that ever mattered, begins not when they stop running, but when you do. When you turn from that distant, captivating canyon and notice, for the first time in a long time, the fertile soil right beneath your own feet, waiting for a different kind of seed. The intriguing part? What grows there will change everything, especially the very nature of the call you've been waiting to hear. Let's talk about the air. Not the air you breathe, but the air between you, the space that holds your thoughts of them. You imagine it empty, neutral, a simple void across which your love travels like a lonely radio wave, hoping for a receiver. But what if that space isn't empty at all? What if, with every longing, every frantic mental replay of your last conversation, every desperate midnight scroll through their social media, you're not sending a signal. You are manufacturing a substance, a thick, syrupy, pressurized substance. We call it many things: neediness, obsession, attachment. But let's give it its true, technical name in the metaphysics of connection: push energy. And here is the mystery, the rarely spoken truth. The runner isn't actually running from your heart. They are suffocating in the atmosphere your thoughts have created. Think of it this way. You stand in a room, radiating a beautiful, warm light. That's your soul, your genuine love. But around that light, because of your pain, your fear of loss, your unmet need, you've unconsciously built a second layer, a frantic, buzzing force field of want. It crackles with questions. Do they miss me? Why won't they choose me? What can I do to make them see? This force field doesn't feel like love to them. It feels like a spiritual riptide, pulling them toward a shore they are terrified of. Their entire being, already wired with a primal fear of engulfment, of being swallowed by another's needs and losing themselves, interprets this push energy not as devotion, but as existential danger. So they do the only thing their survival instinct knows. They back away. They flee the pressure. And you, seeing them flee, pour more of your energy into the chase, thickening the very atmosphere that chokes them. It's a tragic, beautiful feedback loop of misunderstanding. You see, the runner's soul is often an exquisite, fragile instrument, calibrated to detect coercion in any form. It's like one of those ancient seismographs that trembles at a footfall a mile away. Your pure, still love might eventually register as a soft, compelling melody. But the frantic vibration of your chasing, the mental energy of "I must have you to be complete," registers as an earthquake. It's not personal, it's physics. A soul in fear cannot differentiate between a hug that heals and a grip that imprisons when both arrive with the same desperate intensity. So what are you to do? Abandon love? Never. You learn the art of alchemy. You learn to transform the push into presence. This is the real work, the hidden curriculum of the chaser. It means catching yourself in the act of building that prison of thought and gently, so gently, dismantling it brick by psychic brick. It means when your mind spirals into them, you consciously redirect that energy inward with a sigh and maybe even a laugh at your own stubborn heart. There I go again, you might say, building another invisible wall to complain about. It's a kindness to yourself and an act of supreme liberation for them. You stop chasing the person and start chasing your own wholeness with the same fervor. And as you do, something miraculous happens in that invisible atmosphere. The pressing heavy gravity of your need begins to dissipate. The air clears. What remains is simply your light, undecorated, non-demanding, just shining. And in that clear space, a soul that once felt hunted might, for the first time, feel invited. They might stop feeling the push and start sensing the pull, not of your emptiness, but of your becoming. And that, my friend, is a different story altogether. A story that begins not with a question, but with a quiet, solid breath of your own, finally free. But how do you know when that shift has happened? Is there a sign, a subtle change in the dreamscape, or a sudden, inexplicable sense of peace? The answer is simpler and far more ordinary than you might think, and it has everything to do with what you discover when you finally, truly, make a cup of coffee just for yourself. Let's pause for a moment and consider the possibility that you have this entire story backwards. You've framed it as a tragedy of abandonment, a cruel exit staged by a fearful soul too fragile to handle your magnificent love. What if, instead, we peered through a different lens, one scratched and difficult to look through, but revealing a starker, more sacred truth? What if their running is not an act of rejection, but an act of protection? And not just protection of their own fragile ecosystem, but a desperate, soul-level intervention to protect you. Think about that. It sounds almost offensive, doesn't it? The audacity. Here you are, heart splayed open, offering what feels like the purest part of yourself. And I'm suggesting the one fleeing is doing you a favor. Stay with me. We're diving into the mystery of what I call the soul's brutal mercy. See, the runner's higher self, that part untouched by wounding, that eternal spark, isn't looking at your drama, your beautiful, painful, all-consuming drama. It's looking at your soul's curriculum. It sees the lesson you signed up for but have been frantically trying to skip, the lesson of you. Imagine a lifeguard. A swimmer is thrashing, panicking, drowning in 3 feet of water because they've forgotten they can stand up. The lifeguard could jump in and let the swimmer cling to them, creating a dependent, frantic tandem struggle. Or the lifeguard could, from the shore, call out with fierce clarity, "Stand up, put your feet down." The runner is that lifeguard, and their withdrawal is that shouted command. They are removing themselves as the flotation device you've mistaken for salvation. Your chasing is the thrashing. Your healing begins the moment your feet touch the solid ground of your own being. That text you shared, that beautiful, raw testimony, it said it plainly. He pulled away as he understood it was becoming harmful for me, as I was not focusing enough on me. He saw you abandoning you for the fantasy of us, and a soul that recognizes itself in another cannot, in good conscience, participate in that annihilation. It would be like watching your twin drink poison because it tastes like honey and saying nothing. So they do the only thing that might shock you back to your senses. They take the cup away. They remove the distraction of their presence, so you are left alone in the silent, terrifying, glorious room with the only person you've been running from your entire life, yourself. This is where it gets really interesting, philosophically speaking. We talk about twin flames as mirrors. Okay. But what is a mirror's function when you're too close? Breath fogging the glass, eyes squinting. It shows distortion. By moving away, by creating the separation, the mirror can finally reflect you back to you in full, undistorted truth. Not you as half of a pair, but you as a whole being. Their absence isn't a blank space. It becomes the clearest mirror of all. It reflects back your patterns, your dependencies, your beautiful, gaping hunger for a love you haven't yet learned to give yourself. They are, in a cosmic twist of irony, giving you the greatest gift by refusing to be the bandage for a wound they didn't create. They are forcing you to find your own stitches. And let's be honest, it's a terribly inconvenient gift. It's like receiving a how to perform your own surgery kit when you just wanted a hug. Thanks, I hate it. The humanity in this, the tragicomedy, is that on a human level, they likely have no clean, articulate understanding of this. They just feel a visceral no, a need for space, a panic at the enmeshment. They'll probably blame it on their work, their past, your intensity, a dozen human scale reasons. But the soul contract hums beneath it all. Their soul is literally playing the role of the divine irritant, the sand in the oyster, so that you might produce the pearl of your own sovereignty. So you see, asking if they want you to chase is missing the point entirely. Their higher self needs you to stop, to turn around, to face the vast, uncharted territory of your own spirit. The chase is you trying to hand your empty cup to someone else and begging them to fill it. Their running is their refusal to accept the cup. They are waiting for you to discover your own well. And when you do, when you are finally leaning over that deep, cool internal source, drinking deeply, you might just hear a footfall behind you. Not the frantic, panting steps of a chase, but the quiet, tentative step of someone drawn to the sound of a soul no longer thirsty, simply sharing from its overflow. And isn't that a more interesting destination to imagine? The real question then becomes not whether they'll return, but what you'll be doing at your own wellspring when they do. So here we are at the edge of the map. The frantic, scribbled notes about their movements, their possible motivations, the intricate astrology of their choices. You can let that parchment curl and blacken in the fire now. It never charted the territory that mattered. The real voyage, the one that began the moment the horizon swallowed their silhouette, was always an inward expedition. And the question we began with, does the runner want the chase, dissolves like mist in a sudden, sobering sunrise. It was the wrong question. It was like standing at the shore, holding a net, and asking if the ocean wants you to chase the fish, while all the while the vast, breathing water invites you to learn how to sail. This journey was never about orchestrating a return. It was about architecting a foundation so solid, so authentically yours, that whether anyone else ever walks upon it becomes almost a secondary grace note. Think of it as building a home within your own chest. You've spent so long studying the blueprint of another, trying to construct an addition onto a house that was still on the run. No wonder it felt unstable. Now, the silence, the absence, that aching space, it's not an empty room. It's your building site, and the materials are your forgotten passions, your stifled laughter, the quiet truths you spoke only to your journal. The runner, in their maddening exit, didn't take the furniture. They took the scaffolding you were using to prop up a version of yourself you thought they'd love. What's left is just you. Raw, maybe a little exposed, but finally real. And this is the inspiring secret pivot no one talks about enough. The goal isn't to become someone worthy of a twin flame. The goal is to become so whole that the label itself becomes irrelevant. You become a finished sentence, not a fragment yearning for its other half. Then, and only then, can connection be a choice, not a need. A poem written in two voices, not a desperate cry echoed in an empty canyon. Can you feel the difference? It's the difference between standing in a field, begging for rain, and simply becoming a deep, welcoming well. One stance is fraught with desperation, the other radiates a calm, complete readiness. Let's get practical for a breath, shall we? What does this look like on a Tuesday? It looks like you hearing a song that reminds you of them, feeling the old twinge, and then, instead of falling down the rabbit hole of memory, you ask yourself, what does this song make me feel, separate from them? Do I want to dance, to cry, to create something? And you follow that thread. It's you choosing the hobby you always put off because it seemed silly, ordering the meal they didn't like, leaving the party when you're tired, not when you think they'd expect you to. It's a million tiny reclamations. You're learning the dialect of your own soul, and that language has no word for chase. The beautiful, hopeful paradox is this: as you cease to be a seeker of them, you become a discoverer of everything. The energy you once spent on surveillance is now free for creation. The love you once begged them to accept now irrigates your own life, and strange, wonderful things begin to grow. New friendships, unexpected peace, a creative spark you thought was long dead. This isn't settling. This is upgrading your entire existence. And from this place of dignified fullness, you view the past, the runner, the entire dizzying drama, with a kind of gentle, detached awe. You see it as the rigorous, unorthodox curriculum it was always meant to be. So, does the runner want the chase? The soul of the runner, in its deepest, most inarticulate wisdom, wanted only for the chase to end, not so they could be caught, but so you could finally stop running from yourself. They needed you to become the calm, still center they could one day, perhaps, orient by, not as a port in their storm, but as another whole, shining world, moving in its own gorgeous and harmonious orbit. The connection, if it is destined, will then be a gravitational dance of two self-contained universes, not a merger born of emptiness. And that story, well, that's a story worth being present for. It begins not with a question about their desires, but with a single, deliberate breath in the quiet masterpiece of your own unmistakable life. And you know the most interesting part? The next chapter isn't about waiting to see if they read it. It's about realizing you're the one holding the pen, and the ink is made of starlight.